everybody, my name is Beck Sahasrara. I am a speaker, a feminine empowerment mentor, a spiritual teacher, a psychic channel, a lot of magical things. And I'm here today because I want to speak to you about channeling and about the process of allowing and how both of these unfold in your life. When we talk about channeling, we are talking about moving your conscious identity or conscious mind out of the way, so to speak, for lack of better words, out of the way so that a higher dimensional consciousness can speak through you. Speak, move, sound, essentially be as you for a temporary time. This is the classical notion of channeling. There's a lot of variety in channeling, right? There is people who are fully trance channeling where their whole entire accent and voice and movements and their eyes are fully closed, all of it changes, and also they often don't have any memory. This is on the, let's say, far end of the spectrum of channeling. On the lighter end of the spectrum of channeling is where you can just allow that being to kind of slightly influence. You can just hear the thoughts and then say them. You can kind of take on some of the characteristics. It's sort of about how much of a percentage, let's say, of that being's entire energy that you are taking on and how much of a percentage of your energy or consciousness that you are moving out of the way. And that's a surrender process. So when you are channeling, we are having to engage in a practice of surrendering, a practice of allowing and letting go. It's actually everybody's innate right, your birthright, and a divine ability within you to channel. When we speak of channeling, it can mean that you channel a lot of different things, but ultimately we're speaking about channeling a current or stream of energy. So you can channel your own higher self, your own essence, the aspect of your entire consciousness that is not your third dimensional aspect. You can channel your own spirit guides. You could channel your inner child. On the sort of creative or downstream spectrum, you could channel like a tree. You could channel a piece of art. You could channel your own inner child. You could channel a divine version of your inner child. You could channel a really traumatized version of your inner child. A person could, if they chose to, they could channel like a negative lower being. This is all about frequency and about the process of learning that attunement so that you can surrender fully. But it is everybody's divine right to channel because it is important that you are capable of channeling your own essence, your own higher self, your own life stream that is flowing through you, which includes and contains all of the higher consciousness that you innately are. You are not just this third dimensional aspect of yourself. You exist on all dimensions, I should say. You are many aspects of self, and our higher self could be seen as a compilation of all of those aspects of you. So when you learn how to, touch on, tune into, receive, and channel to the degree that you choose your own higher self, or your own spiritual guides, angels, ascended masters, and supportive team around you, you are getting your power back in this life. One of the biggest skills that comes about from this practice, and the biggest, I should say, most important thing as well, the other key important thing, is that you know how to channel so that you can wield your own life force. We are meant to be capable of channeling your own life energy and utilizing it how you see fit. In this very moment, you are channeling a stream of energy that is your life force. You are channeling energy and chi through your whole body. Most people don't realize that we are often blocking the flow of our chi, and unblocking that is the process of healing, essentially, of moving that emotional block or that tension in the body or that old trauma, and letting the samskaras, which are a Buddhist word for energetic scars that are stored in the energetic body, creating rips and tears in chakras, making pathways like wonky, like doing all sorts of things, tears in the aura. this obviously that's going to disrupt this stream of energy that you should be channeling from source, from your own source, and kind of comes through the crown chakra too, from your heart and your crown, and also up from the earth. Those channels need to be open too. You are meant to be channeling all of these things in like the biggest possible way that you can, and through your incarnation you are here to develop that capacity. So when we talk about channeling, I also want to bring in the conversation of what it means in a broader sense as well, because when most people hear channeling, they are thinking primarily about somebody that is moving their identity out of the way and allowing an external essence, force, consciousness, being to come into their body. But that is a beautiful ability, but it is not the only part of things. That being said, we also want to have that ability as well. And there's so many ways that are going to be unique to you that you can learn to channel. And that can be that you end up, being a full trance channel, or it could be that you channel and communicate with your spirit through art. It could be that you just get into the flow when you sing. It could be just sounds. It can be body movements. Whatever you are doing to channel your spirit is perfect for you. I want to touch on the spirit guides for a moment as well. So spirit guides are aspects of your own higher dimensional consciousness. So that spirit guide, people hear me talk about my spirit guides all the time. And a friend made me aware recently that often people probably are perceiving that as though you are having your life governed by something that isn't you. And that there could be an element of disempowerment in that. And certainly people can do that. However, when you are interacting with your own spirit guides, your own spiritual team, which can include things like guides, angels, ascended masters, spirit animals, elementals, like all the different beautiful forms of essences and life that's here for you. Any number of those, and the primary team, the closest team, the most involved with you team that you have, is your own higher self. It is your spirit. It is your essence being expressed as individual seeming and interacting with you beings. And so when you are channeling, you are certainly not giving away your power unless you are interacting with something that is taking from you or is low, etc. But it's really important to talk about this as well, because a lot of people sometimes they get disturbed or afraid from channeling as a concept because they're exposed to people who are channeling something low or aren't doing it correctly, or they've had their own personal experience where they tried to open psychically and they had an entity interaction, a lower entity interaction. And then they go, okay, well, I'm just going to shut that down and I'm just not going to engage in magic anymore, and kind of then I won't be messed with. And I had a conversation with someone recently who said that to me, and I was like, well, I would argue that by putting your head in the sand about the fact that you are an energetic, channelly built being, and not engaging in your own energy stream and your own psychic capacities, those lower entities and things that you're trying to avoid, or those lower influence, what do you think that they're doing? They are going to be, if you step away from the seat of your own power, that seat gets filled up and taken. When we dissociate in this life, when we pull our life stream away, your presence, your focus from your own being, that's a form of dissociation, and that creates an energetic space. And our process of healing is to reclaim all the spaces that we've stepped away from and all the parts of ourselves that we have abandoned, so that we can allow our full life stream to come through us. So don't think for a second that there's any power in just not being a spiritual person anymore because you had a bad experience in the New Age community. And, a lot of people are in this time are being deceived by false light channeling through their own experience, or through false light teachers or channelers, etc. But that's why it's so important. It's like even more important in that way for you to engage in your own personal practice. I've always telling people in this era that we are in, this very intense ascension period, you must develop the capacity to discern truth. That's primary. You must develop, so that is your intuition. You must develop the capacity to be able to read for truth, because there is a lot of false light at this time. And part of that is to take responsibility. And part of this overall thing is to take responsibility for the fact that you are a being that is constantly channeling. You are constantly channeling your own life force energy. You're constantly channeling when you create. You are constantly channeling when you have new thought and ideas. And it's actually really, like, it makes me smile because it's so beautiful. It makes me so happy. That's why I do what I do, because personally, that's my joy. I find so much miracle and magic and joy in the fact that that is a thing that you can do, that exists. So we are talking about channeling today because there's an invitation here collectively for us as humanity to take our power back, and for you individually to start to walk your life in a way where you remember that you're a spiritual being who has these abilities. And also too, and this may be more of my human, love and personal experience, but you deserve to have a relationship with your spirit guides, with your angels. You deserve to walk in this life in a way where you are having your hand held and you have teachers around you that you can talk to. You can ask for help and you can ask for healing. And whilst these beings can serve you and help you to a degree without you directly engaging with them for your entire life, they are always on the lookout for you, and they are always, subtly influencing with permission, and or to the degree that your consciousness has allowed it. And that's the key thing, is that the more that you allow yourself to engage in your own internal opening to your own channel, the more permission you are naturally giving to your spiritual team to help you more directly, more often, more powerfully than if you just never engage in it at all. And personally, in my life, I was thinking this morning, what the heck would I do if I didn't have the gifts that I have, where I can ask my spirit guides for help, and I can ask, what do I do with this hard thing in my life, or this lesson I'm learning, and not walk entirely alone. Though we can still feel alone. It's important that you understand in this reality that you are not alone. And coming into this time period, this era where we are going to be exposed to more experiences of false light trying to tell you that you're not alone in a false kind of way, which is kind of another conversation. But it's so important for you to have established, or ideal, I should say, it's ideal for you to have established your own relationship with the extra dimensional beings around you, aka spiritual beings around you, so that when certain things are tried to be put upon you in this society, or put upon us collectively, in this false light agenda that's going around, that you are able to discern, nope, that's not my guide, or that's not the voice of love, that's not the resonance of truth. This is just so, so, so important. So I want to tell you a little bit about my own journey with channeling and moving through life with the spirit. So I had spiritual gifts when I was little. My guides were always around me. However, I also had a very traumatic childhood. So whilst they were there and they did help me often, I also went through periods of feeling and living so much disconnection because I was overwhelmed by traumatic experience that I was living. And over the years, I healed and healed eventually. And I found my way back to spirit and back to listening to the inner voice within. And for me, that felt like thoughts and knowings that would come into my mind. It sounds like my own head voice. But over time, I learned that that was not like me. It is me, as I said, but as I explained to you guys earlier, but it wasn't fully my third dimensional self. And over time, I learned, okay, I have channeling capacity even more so. And I have still gone through the process of having to surrender to that light and to that gift. And it is still a process and a challenge. And one of the most powerful things for me, though, and this touches on what we spoke of earlier, was to learn how to channel my own life force. So going beyond channeling like other beings for a minute and talking about really like this is where I've always had a little bit of a challenge with explaining it, but I'm going to explain it. So you have a stream of life force energy going through you right now at all times. It's trying to flow as openly as possible, and as you heal, that can increase. So what most people are doing, and Yogananda, this in spirit Yogananda, he taught me this. He taught me how to feel for when I'm resisting the flow in my body of my energy stream. So now I learned to, if I focus, I can feel the pathway of the point of where I'm resisting, and then because I can feel it and have awareness around it, I can say, okay, I'm going to step out of the way, and I intentionally kind of stop resisting. I let go of that energetic tension that I can feel, and I just let it flow through me. And for me in my journey, that was one of the first things of my really deep, intensive training and healing with spirit that I was taught. He taught me about that and about building up the heart energy. When he taught me that, it started to allow and awaken, mudras and stuff started to happen, body movements, and I started to, basically over many years, I built a whole process that I use to heal myself and that I guide clients in as well. And what I learned was about this life force energy and what it turned into, and what I still do now is actually a really beautiful practice of surrendering fully to the divine will in me. And that is the divine will practice is to feel for that resistance, get out of the way, and then ask for healing, essentially. There's more steps to this, but essentially I learn to feel the life force energy, I get out of the way of it from that point. Then I say, okay, I'm fully surrendered to divine will right now. The divine will in me is what that means. May the divine will in me flow through me, change me, heal me, transmute me. I'm willing. And I learned to do that, and I learned also how to, one of the main steps is the surrender, is how to very richly, properly surrender, and to know when you're saying no so that you can find the yes, and different skills like this, so that eventually I learned that I have a healing force of divine will inside of me that can always heal me. As long as I am willing and surrendered to the 100 million %, it can move through me and it can heal what's in the way between me and highest energetic flow, my higher self, my dreams, my healing, my wholeness. And what I say about the surrender, and we can touch on this too, is that in order to surrender, you really have to find a place of, I am willing to feel anything, like meaning face anything, experience anything. And is the willingness to feel in healing that gives the fullness of your presence that then transmutes what is in the way that needs to be felt. Because those things that are in the way, blocks and things, samskaras, they are just stored tension, trauma, sometimes energetic debris, and as I said, more like injuries, metaphysical injuries of holes in the aura and things like this. But they're all happening because there's something been stored or torn or whatever that needs to be properly processed, that wasn't processed at another time. And healing means feeling. It means to feel what hasn't been felt. Feeling is to give presence. So I learned to give presence, and in the surrender, you have to find that really, like, I will face the worst memory inside of me, for example. I will relive the worst trauma. Like, if you can find a genuine point of that being your strongest truth, this divine will will come through you. And that's where I've seen personally, I've experienced what I would describe as miracles happening in my own energetic field, in my consciousness. And there's a bit more to that, obviously, but what we're talking about is the capacity to wield and channel your own life force energy. It is fundamental. It is fundamental to living this human life, to doing alchemy, to doing healing, to practicing your intuition, all of that. It's your own life force energy. Of course, that is fundamental. And this is hearing spirit guiding me to talk to you about the fact that this alchemy process is what Yahweh or Jesus was describing in his lifetime, and that there are some remnants in quotes from him more in the New Testament that he's speaking about, like, I am the way, the truth, the life, these sorts of things. He's saying it's inside of you, and the temple is inside of you. And there's a lot of allegory in the Bible for the process of alchemy, processes of transmutation to alchemize pain, trauma, what's in the way of your life force, and actually bringing that gold out, the gold of your soul and the soul substance out into the body. And that is what I teach, if you guys don't already know. And I teach it because it happened to me through these processes. And I started to watch and literally see like things like my blood turning kind of gold in my clairvoyance, in my metaphysical vision, and having to ask Spirit what the heck is happening. And Spirit was explaining to me, like, this is the effect of the processes we've been guiding you to do, la la la. And it turned into the path of alchemy, or the path of spiritual remembrance, or embodiment. They're all the same thing that I teach and speak about today. So this is so important. It's so fundamental for you to come into capacity and relationship with your ability to receive and wield your own life force. Channeling is to receive, so channeling your own life force. And as you guys probably know, there's a million ways that you can do that. So there's a lot about it in the yogic traditions and Eastern traditions, talking about raising the Kundalini. All of that is on the same page. There's obviously working with mentors and people like me. There's also the fact that it is happening naturally anytime that you heal. However, as I said earlier, when you remember how to actually wield your own power, how to like do the process and do the thing, you're going to be much more potent, much more fast moving, much more powerful, and your fuller soul embodiment in this lifetime. And that, you know, that's why Yahweh was teaching it, and a part of his life was to teach it, and also just be it. So our channeling capacity is not something to be afraid of. It's something that is your birthright. So let's touch a little bit on the capacities for channeling other beings and what's going on there. So remembering what I said earlier, that when you are going to channel something, you are often channeling like a spirit guide or an angel, more spirit guides. These are aspects of your own being. So when you allow that, you don't have to be afraid of anything. And there are steps to going into a channeling state and being able to receive all of that. And I'm not going to go heaps into that because, you know, I'm not giving you guys a class today. What I'm wanting to highlight for you today is that this is important, and that there are fundamentals about you that you need to remember how to own and embody in this lifetime. So when you want to channel, you want to channel beings of the highest light. We don't want to channel low beings. How do we do that? Or what's the go? Well, I should say, what's the overall go with that? We set intention always, and this is how I train students, is that you have to connect to your heart first. You have to be at a certain capacity within yourself in order to open up safely, that you know how to anchor into your heart, that you're not like in Traumaville and in a lower vibration, because everything is vibration. If you're watching this channel, I'm sure you already know that. So you want to vibrate heart energy and love energy. That's why we start there, so that what you open your radio signal and your channel up to receive, your consciousness up to receive, is a match to what you're vibrating, which is love. You want to be vibrating some aspect of love, divine light, peace, your own soul, the radiance of beauty, something beautiful and a high vibration. When you do that, you're going to call in the higher aspects of yourself, aka spirit guides, ascended masters, angels, or you could focus it on your own higher self, to come into your consciousness. And what's happening when somebody channels is the other being, you could see them as, like, let's say they're a being, they have an energy body that may look a little bit like a form. For the sake of our picture, we're going to say that, like a person. And then they have an auric field, and you are like that, and you have an auric field. So you're here, let's say, and they start to, with your permission, and as you open and you vibrate correctly and you're magnetically inviting it and calling it in, and they answer the call vibrationally, and your vibration has to come up a bit high to meet them, then you both start to merge. And you can, so the spectrum of channeling is like, I could channel from here, where I could, you may not even fully technically call that channeling, you might call it clairaudience, where I've raised my vibration and I've opened my receiver enough that I can clairaudiently or telepathically hear or know what a being over here is saying. But as they get closer, I'm inviting them more into my energetic embodiment, my energetic field, which then is going to start to affect my physical embodiment. So here I might, let's say hypothetically, because everybody's different, right? But let's say I might start to get a bit of an accent of that guide's expression. I might start to hear or maybe I just hear their voice a bit louder, something like that. And as they come in, that's when people start to really change, right? And they can then be merged with that being. And then I can decide how much influence I'm going to maintain in this shared seat. So I could be like, no, I want to be like a conscious channel person today. I don't want to I don't want to not have memory about it and fully have them take over my body today. Maybe I don't feel up to it. Maybe that's just not my thing. So then I'm gonna stay. Maybe it's more like this. I'm gonna stay, and I'm gonna stay almost like in the front of them, and they're going to sort of speak through me. And so I will still have my voice and my mannerisms probably and stuff like that. And internally, I might still have thoughts and I can hear the room around me. If my eyes are closed, I'm not seeing it, but I can hear it and feel it, and I'm still there. And then I, as the channel, I'm just like blah, 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 like allowing, you have to open your voice. This is another skill set or step of channeling that I won't go into huge detail, but you have to open, and then your voice can start to move through them, or their voice moves through your voice. Yeah, right? But if I was feeling like, yeah, I'm gonna super mega channel today, I can let them fully merge with me, and I kind of like come back and I come behind. And I could stay here where I can kind of hear what's being said. I can kind of, like, when I come back, I'll remember it. But I don't influence it at all. And I'm kind of a little bit not there. Or I can, like, on the extreme, I could fully float away and it's just the guide. I'm not untethered from myself. That will never happen. But I am fully allowing this guide to utilize my entire body. And it's likely that when I come back, I won't have conscious memory of what's been said. Maybe I'll have like an echo. Actually, often channelers, they don't remember anything, but they come back with a knowing. Their psychic stuff can read what's just happened, and they can know, oh, I think the topic was about faith or something like that. And yeah, so you can do this. And when when a trance channeler is in this state, they might tell you that they literally remember nothing. They don't know where they go. There's just blank, like going to sleep. They might tell you that they felt like in a dream state, or they were having visions, or they were just floating in like a white room. Like, it's all sorts of possibilities depending on that person's unique system and the way that their guides work with them and what's right for them. So yeah, then you can come back and they can switch out. And it's like, okay, thank you, bye. And then your guide is still, with you in your life over here. So also what's happening, I should add, remembering that this is an aspect of your higher dimensional self. So at the same time as that whole little play is happening, let's say you're the channel, right? What's really happening also on another metaphorical level, let's say, is that you are opening yourself to more of yourself, to more of your essence. And you've raised your vibration so that you have the capacity to allow that higher dimensional aspect of you, your own essence, more of the fullness of you, to come in. And you are temporarily, let's say, merged or integrated with that. I should say merged. And it's really cool as a channel, and if you learn to channel, because the more that you do this and you work with your spiritual team and you are singing the same song and you come into the same frequency, you will actually start to integrate them as an energy, as a consciousness that is just always in you. So it won't be like they have all this special information and you have to get into a state to access them. The process of healing, oh my gosh, it's quite hot here. The process of healing and becoming more of a high vibrational person and a more enlightened person or whatever is that you are integrating the higher dimensional consciousness that is you into your physical embodiment. So when you channel, you are entraining your own energy signature to vibrate and hold that higher energetic signature of your higher consciousness. So it's really good to channel, and it's really healing for a channeler to channel when it's your own spirit guides and higher self and all of that, because you will start to slowly essentially become your guide. And what that looks like practically is like the next time you want to know information about the subject that guide typically would teach you about, you just know it because your consciousness has become one. And even sometimes like your personality may take on their personality a little bit more, just a little bit. You start to have what I've heard described as like a divine personality. The divine personality starts to come in more. And again, that happens as you heal in general. So it's really important to not be afraid of channeling capacity and also to own it and reclaim it. And there's more to be said about keeping yourself safe, about what's the difference with taking on like an essence or an aspect of consciousness, a being that is not your own soul energy, which can be done for teaching purposes. But that's a different convo, and we've been talking for a while, so I'll leave that there. What I want you to get today is that you are here to be the fullness of who you are, which includes your multidimensional consciousness. And that inclusion of your multidimensional consciousness and developing the capacity to allow your own life force, to allow life, to allow and surrender to life, which is mirrored inside of us. When you surrender to life and you're not fighting with life, you are developing your capacity to allow more life inside of you. And when you do that, you are channeling and you are eventually integrating your higher self, your soul, into this embodiment. Do you see how all of that comes together and how all of it leads to this place of you embodying your soul? And we as a collective must reclaim our multidimensional consciousness. And certainly in this time period, absolutely certainly. And it's unfortunate that the more false light there is, the more there's like a clump of people that are saying, oh my gosh, that's scary or that's dark. No, and abandoning the whole thing. You cannot turn off or abandon your energy. You cannot turn off or abandon the fact that you are an energetic being, that you are a multidimensional being. You can only ignore it, put your head in the sand, not have access to the amazing magic that you are, and also heal and develop in other ways that may not be as quick, as potent, as fully soul embodied, because you're not utilizing your entire soul. It is really important, I believe, in this time, we are meant to come into our full multidimensional consciousness. And I wish that it didn't take like a huge false light agenda for us to be initiated enough to move into that and to own that more fully. It is my wish for you and for everybody that we are able to navigate in this time period and essentially use anything that you are afraid of or that is dark or you're unsure about in your magic, in your multidimensional energy, in your healing journey, the way that things outside of life can affect that, those negative things, using all of that to become a more powerful person by saying, I am going to look at that situation and I'm going to do the necessary work to know that I can move through it. And in this case, in this like ascension period that we are in, where there is a lot of agenda to create false light situations, because the light is getting stronger and brighter and greater, and because that false light is being purified up and out of our world, it is so essential and your birthright for you to be able to read that and for you to know. I talked about this in my last event on Temple Gold Coast, which is my in-person temple school that I have. And we were talking about the UAPs or UFOs, then which have turned out to be some drones and some what look like orbs in New Jersey in America. And what this means and how that affects everything. And I was sharing with everyone, like, if I didn't have the capacity and the spiritual awareness and connection that I have right now, and if you didn't, imagine how freaked out you might be, and how easily tricked you could be. When we look at those things, we are seeing like orbs and stuff like that. But I was able to speak to spirit. For example, I was able to speak to spirit and say, what do we need to know about this? How is this? And I'm also able to scan for truth and if somebody's lying and things like that. So they, showed me the truth around that situation, which is that these, just because we're on the topic, these little the orb things that the drone things are around, they look like plasma balls or orbs, but it's all of it is known military technology. And it is intentionally being deceptive and is intentionally trying to initiate a sense of curiosity, chaos, confusion, wanting to know, grasping, all of that for further agendas and plans down the track by this people, the shadow government, let's say, that would like to see everybody not have full clarity on their multidimensional consciousness, on what it means to be a multidimensional sovereign human in this universe, and the whole UAP, UFO, extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional narrative, which is really that everything and everyone is extra-dimensional beings, and that what was shown to me, I'm going to share it because we're here, is that extra-dimensional beings of love who are of the highest light would never appear in your skies and make everybody who doesn't understand freak out. They are not going to do that. They are going to move from service and love. So the way that we collectively and individually will become exposed over time to the multidimensional reality, or the reality that there are other things in this universe, is through, from loving beings, I should say, is through a gradual exposure as you own and reclaim your own multidimensionality and you create disclosure inside of yourself, then external disclosure. So a being appearing, in your room or wherever, or answering your call out in a field, like whatever, they will start to feel like they have permission to come in and that your nervous system is not going to freak out, and you can start to develop a relationship with that. But they're going to wait until you're ready, until you're self-responsible, until it's not going to cause you harm. And of course, I will say that there are nuances and caveats to this that I don't want to go into today. But generally speaking, that is what the message is around that sort of stuff. So when I saw that personally, I was like, oh my gosh, like what are humans even doing? It just kind of extra motivated me to get on here today and talk about this, for example, and talk about it at Temple Gold Coast, because I was like, this is, this is what temple community or spiritual community, even online, is for. It is so that we have a place to recognize these things, and we have the tools and the learning to navigate the spiritual world that we live in. And that's what I stand for. That is the movement that I am a part of, and I'm sure you are a part of too. So thank you for being here today. As always, have a beautiful day. If you would like to work one-on-one in the capacities of feminine leadership mentorship, or one-on-one private soul consultations for men or women, I am available. Reach out to me on Instagram or go to my website. Okay, have a lovely day.